Gentlemen, a Kayo Predator 125 crank no start, which I'll demonstrate for you. Choke on. And what I've found with these Chinese quads, the carburetors, if that's what the problem is, the carburetors are sealed. You cannot get the bowl off. So if that's what's wrong with this one, we'll find out. See if we can get down to the air box. If we can get the air box open and get some starting fluid in there. If it runs and turns over, then we know it is the carburetor. Before we dig too deep, let's make sure we are getting gas to the carb, which there's a drain on the carburetor bowl. Yep. And there's gas. There's gas flowing out. So there is gas getting to the carb. And another easier thing to check, because I'm finding out to pull that carb is not going to be easy. Let's check for spark first, just to make sure we're not going the wrong direction. On the other side of the quad, looks like a small one. Let's see. That will do. Hey, buddy. Yeah. What's that?
Someone fits me. Can I hop on here?
No, don't hop on right now, buddy.
Why, Dad?
Daddy's doing some testing. We're pulling a spark plug out to see if it's got spark.
Yeah, there's a big one right there. Big shoot off from my hand.
It's a deer day.
Yeah. Let me.
But it's wet.
Oh, like that. Yeah.
Let's see.
They're yucky. Yucky.
Position this where you can see. Can you see that?
Dad,
Hold on, buddy. Dad's got to start it. Oh.
Yep. Dad, why?
Okay, you tell me. Oh, goodness. Tell me if you see any spark.
Nope.
Tell. Yep, we got spark. Okay, so let me explain my thoughts real quick. So to get to the air box to try starting fluid that would prove that the carb is gummed up, I have to pull this plastic off to take this bracket off and then to unscrew the air box top. So to avoid doing all that, before we put the spark plug back in, I'm going to shoot that full of starting fluid.
Yeah.
And if that works, if that runs, then that also proves.
That's his big.
Okay. Well, we got some in the general area. Okay. Not a lot of room to work on these things. So, we cinch this down, get the wire back on, then give it a start. If it kicks over and runs a little bit, then we know it is the carburetor.
Yeah. Dad, I love this one.
It's a nice looking quad, isn't it, buddy?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me quick try to turn it over. Watch out, bud.
Get away.
Okay, to be honest with you, I'm surprised that didn't fire up and run.
Dad, why?
I'll show you what that is, buddy.
Oh.
Let's take the spark plug back out.
Yeah.
I'd like to dribble gas in there this time.
Look at Dad.
Because we have spark.
Look at that, look at.
There was starting fluid in there. That was a little wet. Okay, so what I have this time, I put some gas in a bottle and I got my little turkey syringe. It's gonna be super messy, but my goal is to shoot some gas. Not a ton, but to get some gas in that cylinder. See, that's a boatload of gas, but either way, I mean, it should fire and turn over for a couple revolutions. Again, we're trying to prove that the carburetor is the problem. So let's close our spark plug back in there. Spark plug wire back on. Alright, let's turn it over again, see what happens. Well, gentlemen, this is not a good sign. We know we have spark. We know we have fuel in there because we injected fuel straight into the cylinder. So the next place I'm going to go is, do we have compression? So let's get the spark plug back out. We'll match it up with the threads on the compression tester and throw it on here. Yep. Interesting. All right. Got our compression tester. All right. Let's set this here. Let's see what that comes up to. Can you see that? Oh boy. Was that just not threaded in there enough? No, it built compression. Uh-oh. All right, audience. This means there's no compression. You've seen that. So, what could it be? It could be the piston's no longer attached to your crank, which I don't think it's that, because you're seeing the compressor tester bounce. The other thing it could be is a valve is stuck open. Which that's what I'm leaning towards, because you're seeing the fluctuation, like the cylinders traveling or the pistons traveling up and down, creating a flux in pressure, but that pressure is not allowed to build because the valves, one of the valves is stuck open. Oh, well, this isn't just turned into your usual carburetor clean, is it? Okay, so before we call it and say it's got bad compression, there's one more test I want to do, and it's called the leak down test. So what we're going to do is take off these windows here. Through this window we'll be able to see there'll be probably hash marks that will show us that we're at top dead center. And through this window we can get a, what size is this, 14mm socket on to turn this, it's truly your flywheel over. So those hash marks are right up on top.
Oh, I see them.
Right there, see that one? You see on the flywheel there is our hash mark up on top. So now we'll go down on the other side where the spark plug is and put compressed air and see if we can feel air coming out of the crank, which we'll have to take the dipstick out. That'll tell us our rings are leaking. If we feel it coming out the intake, that'll tell us the intake valves are leaking. If we feel it coming out the exhaust, that'll tell us our exhaust valve is leaking. Okay, spark plug is out. I'm going to thread our compression tester back in. What's in there? I can feel air blowing out of the exhaust. Okay, so what we just proved is that with the engine at top dead center, which that's important because that closes that says your intake valves are closed, your exhaust valves are closed, and if you put compressed air into the cylinder head, it should not be going anywhere. It should be under compression, right? And if we can feel the exhaust coming out, or not the exhaust, the air coming out of the exhaust, that tells us that our those exhaust valves are stuck open. Whether it's probably carbon in there that's stuck in between the seal. So I let the customer know that, and honestly that was probably him texting me right now saying yay or nay. He says fix it. So guess what we're doing? We're tearing this bad boy apart. Well, I wasn't expecting to find this in the cylinder. That is a little screw, and it's been absolutely mangled from getting jimmy jammed by this piston. Some marring on the piston. It'd be interesting to see. How the cylinder wall looks. It looks surprisingly good. I don't see any huge scratches in it. But here's what we were after. This is the exhaust valve. You see that guy stuck open there? That's what we were after. That thing was not allowing this engine to get any compression. And quite frankly, look at that intake valve. That's also this head is shot. And here's the deal. Because these are cheap Chinese quads, the amount of labor it would take to pull these valves, lap them, clean it up, put it all back together, for a customer, that's not worth it. Like 2 hours of labor maybe, that's when you can buy a whole new head for, I believe it's 70 bucks. So I'm gonna get some measurements off this head and see what we can find them online for. Well guys, you are not gonna believe this. I have ordered 3 different heads. Here's one, here's one. This is the one that was on the quad. There are so many, the Chinese has copied the Chinese. There are so many variants out there. Even finding a gasket set to fit these. So I have that sitting around here somewhere. There's so many variants. And the valves will be right on some, but then the cam timing tooth gear will be a different size, and 3 strikes and you're out. I tried 3 times to get the correct head. Gone through Amazon, VMC, which is what I thought was the only company, Chinese company copying these from Honda, but I was wrong. So anyways, what we're trying to avoid the whole time was wasting our time rebuilding this head when you can buy one for 40, 60 bucks. Turns out I was better off this whole time wasting my time rebuilding this head. So anyways, that's what I'm doing now. I'm lapping these valves. There wasn't any damage to it. So we're gonna do what we should have done. We're trying to save the customers money was what we're doing. So no, it's not like we're trying to cheat or do anything wrong, but anyways, no sense in boring you. Well, I'm sure you guys would love to watch a valve lapping. Gotta clean that up. A valve lapping head rebuild, but that's not what this video is about. We're just, at this point, I'm trying to go up hunting this weekend. I just want to get this quad out the door. Then maybe this winter when we slow down we'll have time to go over a video. But let me get this all buttoned up, engine back together, and then we should do a compression test on it before we go back to before we go through all the work of installing it back onto the quad. So let me get this done. Catch you in a little bit. Alright, we cleaned up the top of the piston and the head here. We're ready to start reassembling. We got a new head gasket. Engine's back together in time, torque to spec. Before we throw it back on the quad and go through all that work, let's make sure we have good compression. Now I'm curious if we only see that bouncing around because there's a decompression valve. The decompression valve would release all that compression. And we see that jumping a lot more than what we first had. Okay, for the most part the quad's back together. I still got to do all the chain, all that hoo-yah business, but let's start. That obviously wasn't the first time of me starting it since we had it all together, but for the sake of the film, I'm going to act like it was the first time. The reason was is because I didn't want to slap all the exhaust and bolt all the engine mount bolts together. But anyways, we figured it out. Initially, if I remember, it was so many months ago, we thought it was just going to be a carburetor because that's what you see with these things. The carburetors are sealed, so you'd have to tear it out, put a new carb on, you'd be good to go. But during that process, we stayed with the evidence and figured out that there wasn't any compression, and we saw that the valves were stuck open. We tried to find the right head online. Hold on, Matt, stop. We tried to find the right head online. We went through 3 heads, and finally we were like, we're just going to rebuild the one we got. So that's what we did, and we'll button this up and get it back to the customer. Thanks for watching.